This section is about writing equations of lines. So recall back in Algebra 1, you were shown how to graph lines when they're in the form of y equals mx plus b. Remember that m represents the slope and b represents the y-intercept. So for an equation like y equals 2x minus 3, the minus 3 is the y-intercept. So we would place a point on minus 3 on the y-axis. Let's change the color there. So on the y-axis there. And then from that point, we have a slope of 2, which as a fraction would be 2 over 1, the top number being the y value, the bottom number being the x value. So from that starting point, we'll go up 2 and over 1, place another point, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, as many times as you want, and then you draw a line through all of those points. So it looks about like this. Stick a couple arrows on there to represent that it goes on forever, and that's what the green y equals 2x minus 3 looks like. We can do the same thing with the blue equation. The blue equation, it's y equals negative 1/3 x plus 6, so the plus 6 is the y-intercept, so I will go up to 6, place a point there. And then with a slope of negative 1/3, that is down 1 unit and to the right, and still to the right 3 units. It's not to the left. We go down 1, but it's always to the right 3. Do that as many times as you want. Down 1, to the right 3, and then we graph that line. So it'll look about like this. There we go. Yeah, that's a little off, but hopefully you get the idea. And put the arrows on either side to represent that it goes on forever. Okay, so that's what you did in Algebra 1. That is not what we're doing today. What we are doing today is that we are writing the equation of a line, so you will be given information about the line, and then you will write its equation. So it seems like it's working backwards from what we just did. So the two things you need to know to write the equation of a line. You must know the slope. To write the equation of a line, you must know the slope of the line, and you must also know a point. That point does not necessarily have to be the y-intercept. If they give you a random point, there's a way to figure it out. So looking at example number 1, it says, write an equation in slope-intercept form for the line. And we have a picture this time. So on the picture, it is highlighted. A couple points have been highlighted already. It's 0, -2, and -4, -1. So on last section, we talked about how to write the slope of a line if we know 2 of the points are on the line. So we're going to do that again today. We're going to use the formula for slope, which is y minus y over x minus x. Whoops, I don't know why it did that. So again, y minus y over x minus x. So my y values are -1 and -2. So I'll have -1 minus -2 over, and then my x values are -4 and 0. And I got to do it in that order. So -4 minus 0, because since I started with a -1 on that coordinate, I have to start with the x value, the same x value on the x coordinate. And then, of course, we've got -1 minus -2, so that means I should change the signs and turn that to plus and plus. And that will give me -1 plus 2, which is 1. And -4 minus 0 is -4, and a positive over a negative simplifies to -1/4. So that's the slope. And then we have already the y-intercept, because we can see on the graph that it crosses already right here at -2. So since it crosses at -2, we know the y-intercept already. So again, using slope-intercept form, we just figure out the slope of -1/4. That's supposed to be plus b. And The y-intercept is negative 2, so the equation of the line is y equals negative 1/4 x minus 2. So in example 2, it says write an equation given slope and 1 point. Write an equation of a line through 6, negative 2 with a slope of negative 4. So this time they were nice enough to give us the slope already. It's negative 4, so that means we don't have to use the slope formula. However, it does not tell us the y-intercept. It tells us a random point of 6, negative 2, but that is not the y-intercept. But we can use that information to find the y-intercept so we can write the equation of our line. So going back to y equals mx plus b, let's replace everything we know about this problem into that equation. We know that it has a slope of negative 4, so I'm going to replace the m with negative 4. We also know that it goes to the point 6, negative 2, so I'm going to replace the x with a 6 and replace the y with a negative 2. And then we're going to try to solve for b. So to solve that for b, I would first multiply negative 4 times 6, so that's negative 24. And then I'm going to add that to both sides, which means that b is going to equal 22. So now that I know what the slope is, remember the slope of negative 4, we already highlighted that, and we just figured out that b is 22. So I'm ready to write my equation. It's going to be y equals my slope of negative 4x plus my newly found y-intercept of 22. And there is the answer to that one. This example is kind of the granddaddy of them all. It says write the equation of a line passing through each pair of points, and it just tells you 2 points. So they don't tell us the slope and they don't tell us the y-intercept at all. But from last section, we learned how to find the slope by using the slope formula. And we've already done that on the first example. Remember, that's y minus y over x minus x. So we will do 7 minus negative 3 over negative 2 minus 3. 7 minus negative 3, so let's go ahead and change that to plus and plus. And that will give me 10 over negative 5, which is a slope of negative 2. So then going to y equals mx plus b, I just figured out the slope is negative 2, so I'll replace the m with negative 2. And then I need the x and the y like we did on the last problem. But we have 2 possibilities. It gives us 2 points. Just pick one of them. Doesn't matter which one you pick. I like picking numbers with 0s and 1s and that are easy to work with. But honestly, it doesn't matter. It should work for both of them. I'm going to use 3, negative 3 just because. No particular reason. So I'm going to replace the y with negative 3. Replace the x with a positive 3. And again, we will solve for b. So we will multiply negative 2 times 3. That is negative 6. And then we will add 6 to both sides to get what b is. So b equals positive 3. So now that we know what the slope is, remember the slope was what we did back here. It's negative 2. And we know that b equals 3. We just figured that out. So my final answer will be y equals my slope, negative 2x plus 3. So this will work on every problem except for one. There is a special case situation, and it involves a problem like this, just like we did when we're trying to find the equation of a line that goes through 2 points. So that means I would normally try to find the slope. So the y values are negative 7 minus 6 over x values of 4 minus 4. And that's negative 13 over 0, which equals, well, what does it equal? Not 0. Does not equal 0, does not equal 13. That's the answer I usually get when I ask somebody this. You cannot divide by 0. If you try to do that on a calculator, it'll tell you it's an error. The reason you can't divide by 0 is because if I put a 0 here and I asked how many times does 0 go into 13, No matter what number you put up here, some people say it's 0. Well, if it's truly 0, I would take 0 times 0, subtract, and I would still have a remainder. So it's not that. If I tried to put another number up there, let's say I tried to put 13 up there. If I take 13 times 0, I get 0, still get a remainder of 13. You just simply cannot divide by 0. So what we have here in this case is what's called the no slope or undefined slope. Undefined. And if it's undefined, that means you cannot use y equals mx plus b, because we got to have a slope for y equals mx plus b. So looking at where these points are located at 4, -7, which is right here, if you're looking at the graph, and 4, 6, which is up here. So if I connect those 2 points with my straight line, what kind of slope does that have? It doesn't have a slope because it's straight up and down. It is a perfectly vertical line, and that's why it is a no slope or an undefined slope. It's not slanted at all. So this is the special case. The equation of a undefined slope is not y equals, but it's in the form of x equals. And in this case, it's x equals 4. And the reason it's x equals 4 is it doesn't matter where you're at on the line, you will always be on a point that has a x value of 4. So the one I was highlighting there, that is the point 4, 2. It has an x value of 4. If I put a point down here, that is the point 4, -5. The x value is 4. The x value is always 4, so that's why it's the equation x equals 4.